So tonight I'm joined by Daryl Carter, race day tipster, does loads of other bits and pieces. You've seen a bit of his stuff on my page already. We're just going to be previewing the action from this weekend. We'll be covering the 3 days at Cheltenham, hopefully get onto some of the other meetings as well, but we're keen to try and keep this around about half an hour. So it's good to see you, Daryl. How are you keeping, mate?
Very well, thanks, Dave. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all the better for the fact that Cheltenham's back round the corner. And you're race day hosted, are you, for the 3 days?
For the 2 days. I'm not there on the Sunday. Don't think they want me.
No, might prove them wrong on the first couple of days.
Yeah, no, it should be all right. I'm happy to be back. Cheltenham can't wait, to be honest. This is a meeting that I said I can't wait to get to because it all starts ramping up now, doesn't it? Absolutely. So really excited.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. So yeah, obviously we've got the cracking stuff at Cheltenham. There's decent stuff over at Punchestown as well, but it is all about Cheltenham. So we'll just get straight into that. On the Friday, what we'll do is we'll just try and run through them race by race. And if there's anything you've got a mad keen opinion on, we'll shout out. It's an amateur riders handicap chase. I think the Young Master won this last year, but nothing that I'm particularly interested in here. Maybe Cloth Cap jumps out a little bit because he didn't go in the Badger Beers because of the rain. I think it'll be good to soft in places, probably the track, so that probably might suit him, but I haven't really got a real opinion or anything. Is there anything you like so far?
I do like Cloth Cap, stands out a little bit. Quite interested in Captain Cavistock as well. I'll tell you why, because on his reappearance run at Wincanton, Paul Nicholls ran 2 runners in that race, and after the race, one of his runners, Coupe de Pincay, however you say it, finished third, ran really well. But Captain Cavistock was in the same race, and when they came to the parade ring afterwards, he wasn't interested in speaking to Harry Cobden on the third. He was only interested in speaking to Lockram William, asking how Captain Cavistock ran. Now, I've been through this horse's form time and time again. I think we've all thought at one point or another that he's well handicapped. I can't see how he's well handicapped, but they must think something of him for him to be that keen to speak to Lockram and how he was on his reappearance. So it just might be something worth bearing in mind if there's any market moves for it. But there is a horse in here I do like. It's a horse called the King's Rip. Now, this horse, he's got staying power in his family. He steps back up to 3 miles for this race, if he runs here, of course. He's been running over 2 miles 4 on his last 4 starts from last year, but his form figures over 3 miles read 2-1-1-1. He handles soft and heavy going, and his form figures on that sort of surface in the last 2 years read 2-1 fell 1-2-2 fell 1, which is really interesting. He's less exposed than a lot of these runners in here, and he actually ran at Cheltenham back at the trials meeting, I think it was, behind Sire Dulac and Janica and Ballyhill, finishing 4th over 2 miles 4. Just a trip too short for him. He's ready for a step up in trip now. He goes very well when fresh, and his form figures when fresh are 1 and fell. The time he fell was in much lesser company, but he was in command so far out in that race. It was ridiculous. All he had to do was hop the last, and he fell, and I was bloody on him that day. So he's definitely going to be of interest, off a mark of 133. Only had a £3 rise for finishing second by half a length at the end of last season behind a horse called Duke Deschamps.
Yeah.
Think you could have plenty more to come this year, especially over 3 miles on soft ground. A lot of these are exposed in here. So it might just be worth an angle looking at if he runs, because obviously we haven't declarations yet.
Well, that's the big thing, isn't it? Obviously, this far out, especially for the handicaps, and especially the handicaps the bookies haven't priced up, you get almost 30 runners in there. We don't know who's going to turn up. I think that I'm sure that King's Rip, I'm sure he's called Brian. I might have got that wrong, but whenever I see Katie Woodacott put something on Twitter and she's leading out the string, she seems to always be sat on that horse. So they obviously like him. And then that Captain Cutstock, like you said, he has run loads and he's been around for quite a while. Like you say, plenty of people would have fancied him at some point. He's only 6 though, isn't he? So there's a few younger horses that might be in here as well. But yeah, at least we've got something in that race. So we'll move on to the other handicap, Joy, the novices handicap hurdle. There is one in here that I probably could quite like. Whether he'll run or not, I don't know. I think you saw this horse run, maybe. Sir Psycho, Paul Nicholls.
Really, really like him. I fell in love with him that day. It was the way, he wasn't beating much. I've been back through the form. He wasn't really beating much that day, but it was the way he quickly put 4 or 5 lengths between him and the second. It was instant. So he's off a mark of 117 He's been given a mark of 117 for his few starts, but the issue with him is in this race is Will Paul Nicholls run him. He's a 3-year-old. I think I went back for about 5 or 6 years. I think there's only been one or two other 3-year-olds that have run in this race.
But the only thing with that is obviously because he is a youngster, you might not put him in there. But it's a 0 to 25 handicap, isn't it? So I don't think Nicholls would have had many given a mark that low in the first place. Anyway, I reckon if he were to run, he'd be short, wouldn't he?
If he wasn't, I would be loading up off a mark of 117.
Beauty. So we've got an absolute banker of the weekend from Daryl and Dave in the second race on the Friday then. Well,
the thing is, it was just so. It was a very good performance, and he just learned throughout his whole race. You could see him being tall. The cheek pieces really helped him that day as well, because I think he's a bit quirky. But he jumped the last like a professional, and he just quickened. Yeah. And to be right next to it when it happened, it was impressive that day. I even followed him back to the parade ring and just watched him. He's a gorgeous looking horse. I did fall in love that day. So yeah, 117. Wow, have a bit of that.
I reckon we could have a bit of that. And the thing is, like you say, he's called Psycho for a reason. He's got the cheek pieces. He probably is a bit of a nutcase. I think the owners put a picture up on Twitter in the winner's enclosure after, and he's got one of his eyes bulging out and his tongue hanging out the side of his mouth. So he is a bit of a head case. But they're the sort of horses we love, didn't we? You've got to get on a bit of that when they're youngsters. Right. Definitely. We'll go on to the third race, and 3 handicaps in a row to start it off. I mean, it is Cheltenham, but come on. Right, this one, Bun Duran won this last year, didn't he? I was told before then that he was working all over one of the other Tom George horses. They backed him and he won quite nicely, didn't he? I think he was second at Cheltenham, wasn't he? So he's off a bit of a higher mark now. I reckon he's probably one to be taken on. I'd be interested to see if River Wild ran in this, because I think he was quite a nice horse and he's never really shown anything, but it's another one. It's a handicap. I'm not really too keen. It has been priced up by the bookies, and the only thing that's been coming for any sort of money is Do It for the Village. He's got a reasonable record round here, but he's 10 now, isn't he? So I didn't know if there's anything you fancy in there.
Well, this is basically a rerun of the Grand Annual, because we've got the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 7th and 10th in it.
Yeah.
So I went through this race and I thought Bundoran would be heading the market, trying to get him beat. Now, I went back and watched the Grand Annual a couple of times, and he jumped foot perfect that day. He simply jumped foot perfect on the inside all the way around, and he still couldn't peg back Croco Bay off a mark of 148. He's here now off a mark of 150. And I looked at the race that he won last year. God, it was awful. Yeah. It was such a weak race. It was a much weaker race than this looks at the moment.
And he must have been. He was the best part of a stone lower last time, when I think maybe 140,
138.
Yeah, 138. Yeah. So yeah, he's up a lot, isn't he?
Yeah. The thing is, you go through this, and everything keeps coming back to Brellan Das, and the issue is I don't like the horse, but on his reappearance, I think he got to the 4th fence or 5th fence. He made 4 mistakes at his fences before that 5th fence, and then come down, and he just didn't look anything like he did in the Grand Annual. I think this is one of those races where not a lot of these have got much in their favour. I think we're going to have a lot of rain on Thursday, aren't we? I think we're due a lot of rain.
Yeah, I reckon Simon Clace was saying today that he reckons it will be good to soft across the course. It's not going to be any worse than that. It wouldn't be soft all over. I think they've got a couple of dry days forecast as well, and there's not much rain to come. So I reckon good to soft would be the worst it's going to be. All soft.
A lot of these put their best form on good ground. Including Bundor and Magic Saint. I don't know what to do with that horse. But River Wild's definitely interesting. Brellan Das 6-1-ish.
Too short,
if I could get 9 or 10s, I might have a go. But he's sitting on a mark of 138. I think he can win a race off that sort of mark. I mean,
I agree.
But not really a race to get too involved in, I wouldn't say.
No, and they've obviously got this. The yard have got the Magic Saint, haven't they? That they fancy. They keep saying it's going to win a big race. It keeps underperforming. That's off a reasonable mark. So I guess it depends. I think they're both entered in the same sort of races. Bet Victor Gold Cup and this as well. But I guess they'll just have to see where they're not going to run them against each other, are they? But I would think that Brellan Dars would come here and Magic Saint would go elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Magic Saint's one of those horses who's been going up the handicap without doing anything really.
It's only 5 as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't like them sort of horses. I try to avoid them. So, Yeah, but there's nothing in here that is absolutely screaming that is well handicapped, to be honest.
That's it.
Oh, perhaps Brell and Dust that you could probably make a case for that mark of 138 is lenient a little bit, but
that's it. But the problem is, especially even looking at the market now, I know it'll obviously change come the day they'll probably push a few of them out, but the ones that we're mentioning here, they're all single figures, aren't they? And I just think that they're all a bit stingy. You can obviously get bigger with some bookies, but that's the problem with these handicaps, isn't there? There's always a handful of horses you can make a bit of a case for, but nothing with any real conviction, I don't think. So we're going to move on to a proper race, the Steel Plate and Sections Novices Chase. This is the 2.5 miler. This is like a really exciting race for me in the first instance, because there's brewing up a storm that is ended up in the 2 mile chase at Cheltenham anyway, the Arkle trial. It's ended up at Wetherby again to go against Good Boy Bobby. I think brewing up a storm needs to stay at 2 miles. I think he's quick enough. I think he'll like it around Cheltenham, so I want to see him in this race. Obviously, Jarvis Plate went and beat Reserve Tank at Chepstow. That form's been, I mean, it has been franked because Reserve Tank won, but I wasn't really very impressed. But he's obviously going to be carrying the £8 penalty, whereas Brewing Up a Storm's only got the £5 penalty. I just think Birchdale in this he's just going to hack up, isn't he?
But Jarvis Plate can't win this.
Correct. We've got the thing is that this is going to go out to the masses. There's going to be 20 or 30 people who'll watch it, so we can't be too rude. But yeah, Jarvis Plate overrated.
I just think Jarvis Plate wants 3 miles. Was off the bridle the whole way round on reappearance. Fergal O'Brien always has his horses fit first time up. Think Reserve Tank probably paid for that. He was off the bridle a long way out, and then just picked them both up. You know, at the second or at the last even, and I think he's been flattered a little bit by Reserve Tank winning next time. If I'm being honest, I'd like to see Jarvis play over 3 miles. I think he's vulnerable. Well, look, he's got to give £8 to Birchtail, who beat him by 18 lengths over hurdles at this course last year.
Yeah, and Brewing Up a Storm had him beat as well, didn't he, when he fell in that race, and he's getting £3 off of him. So
yeah, so you know, and then you look, but I can see why he's 11-4. You look at the other runners. Is Henderson going to run Birchdale, Angel's Breath, and Mr. Fisher? He's definitely not going to do that.
No, the money seemed to come for Birchdale to begin with, didn't it? He opened up at 4-1 with Paddy Power and Betfair, but there has been some nibbles for Angel's Breath, so I reckon there's an outside chance that he might run 2 of them against each other. He's got so many novice chases that he's probably going to have to do it at some point, isn't he?
Yeah, but then put the kettle on. It's going elsewhere. Western Riders entered elsewhere. Top of the Cotswolds ain't got a chance in this. Yeah. Not that Fusé, no chance in this. So you can see why they're compressing the prices. Just if Birchdale's fit and ready, and it's not, and the ground doesn't go, too soft, then he's home and hosed, isn't he?
I reckon so. And I think the thing as well, Nicky Henderson made the big statement, didn't he, before Cheltenham? Champ doesn't want 3 miles. Birchdale will go 3 miles. He balls it up. He's openly admitted that he ran him the wrong way round. If you look at what Birchdale did before that, he looked like an aeroplane, and he's only 5, isn't he? So I reckon Birchdale's probably a good thing on that race, especially on the terms where he's getting a bit of weight. I do think Jarvis Plate needs to be. I probably need to give him more respect than I do give him. Fergal O'Brien's flying, but I couldn't have him at any price, to be honest. Well, I could if he was 10-1, I'd back him. But Brewing Up a Storm's the one that I'd be worried about if he did run in here. But I do think he's better over 2 miles, and I think Birchdale probably had him covered in that race at Cheltenham last time, and he'll be getting the £5, although he's not match fit. So that could be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I definitely don't think Bruin's going here, and I think he wants further than 2 miles, but he's not going to come in here. He's got, like you say, he's got that entry at Wetherby. He's got the entry on Sunday. I think he's entered at Taunton on Thursday as well. So
yeah, he's all over the shop in it, and yeah, because the main reason I reckon he might come here is he's. Whether it was his wind or whatever it was last season, he just didn't look like he was seeing out his races. With Ollie Murphy, he's obviously got a handful of reasonable chases this season, novices that he's wondering where to put them. Itchy Feet flopped over hurdles, so I can see him going over fences again. But I think he must have been a bit gutted about Thomas Darby, and I just wonder whether at some point he's going to have to step up Thomas Darby to 2.5 just to try him out, and he might just think, do you know what, this might be a time to test Brewing Up a Storm over 2 miles, which is why he probably won't run here. I think they might stick him up against Al Dancer and get away Trump. But
I definitely agree with you that Thomas Darby wants to go up to 2.5. So,
but all of it's irrelevant. Birchdale hacks up, right? So we've got a nap and a next best, didn't we? Sir Psycho's gone in, Birchdale's gone in with 2 from 4. we've got the handicap chase cross country to come up to. So I will be able to keep this very short and sweet. It's part of trash, isn't it? It's a novelty race. Don't mean to be rude to some of the horses that are in there. The one horse that I beg comes over is David Cotton's Easy Sland. Only a 5-year-old, just keeps winning. It's going to carry a bit of a penalty, I think, for a recent win or a win under certain conditions. But I'd love to see him come over. The other ones in there, things like Fact of the Matter is only a few pounds higher than when it won a handicap. Kingswell Theatre won the race a few years ago off a pound lower mark, maybe. But we're talking about older horses that are just running in this race for the sake of a change of scenery. Unless that Easy Sland runs, I'm not really interested in the race. What do you reckon?
Completely agree with you. I couldn't actually believe during the week that Yanworth was heading the favouritism for this. And his Bolger came out and said an air of caution about Yanworth. You know, he's been working well, but this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, he starts drifting in the market. It's madness.
It is. They should have given us an air of caution about Yanworth the year he ran in the Champion Hurdle, shouldn't they? Because I was at Adding King's Yard that year, and he didn't say it in exact words, but he wanted to run it in the Stairs Hurdle. JP wanted to run it in the Champion Hurdle because he wanted to win the Champion Hurdle. Then it gets disqualified for a dodgy substance in it. They ruined the horse in that season. And as much as he had the ability, it's like York, isn't it? They were the 1-2 in that Ballymore, and look at the state of them now. Just happens sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, let's move on from this race.
Good. So we're on to the Hyde Novices Hurdle, the 2 mile 5 furlong race. So this is one I've got an opinion in as well. Led event when he ran on debut at Cheltenham, or seasonal reappearance anyway. I did expect him to win, to be honest, but he ran okay. Big horse. I think he'll come on for that. Time Hill, obviously winning the Persian War. You can see why he's favourite. Champagne Well, the Fergal O'Brien lot, they're all flying, aren't they? IK Brunel as well, an extra couple of furlongs. He'll probably run well, but I don't know how good that Eden to Who form might be. I mean, they did pull well clear of the third. I just think when this was one that they priced up earlier in the week, and they made this Lair Devant 6-1, I think. So I snipped up a little bit of that because it was too big a price. Time Hill was 4-1 at one point as well, I think. So I actually backed the pair in this. I would be a little bit worried about IK Brunel. Champagne Well, I wouldn't like to think is good enough to win this, but I would just really hope that either Lair Devant or IK Brunel turn into something decent. IK Brunel is a second season novice, isn't he? So that puts me off a little bit for like spring sort of like targets when we think about the festival, but he could go and run quite well here, especially getting a bit of weight. But I kind of hope this Lair Devant turns into a beast. I hope it's something special.
Was that a dig at Champ about second season novice?
Yeah, it happens. They do well up to the festivals, and then they get caught up because they, regardless of whether they've had one run, they've had hardly any attempts or any of that sort of stuff. They might not have had much time over it. They are 6 months, 9 months ahead of the other horses the next season, so they've got to be more forward. They're spring festival ready at the start of the season, so I reckon that's why IK Brunel did better than Eden to Who last time. I don't think the form will get reversed, but the step up in triple suit him. But if he went and won this, he's not going to go and actually win a Ballymore, I don't think. Time Hill was pretty good at Chepstow, I thought, but the penalty probably good. Well, might find him out. I want to see one of them go and bolt up, and I want it to be that Lair Devant because I backed him basically.
I'd be quite keen on Time Hill in here. I think that Cheltenham bumper form, I think that is rock solid, isn't it?
It is fire, isn't it?
And then before that, next second to Master Debonair, it just stands up. Time Hill was really impressive when beating Fiddler on the Roof, and it's a shame that Fiddler on the Roof didn't boost the form last time, but I still think Time Hill won well enough that day.
Oh, I agree. And I think that Fiddler on the Roof, that last race that Fiddler on the Roof ran, it was Edwardstown when they beat it, or Edwardstone.
Very nice horse.
It was behind Chantry House in a bumper, wasn't it? 3 and a bit length, so it wasn't. It's not a dog horse, is it?
I tell you what, that Chantry. I know we're going off topic here. Chantry House form is
lump it. Any race for, I think William Hill, any race market, I think it's either 25s or 33-1. Any race, you can boost that as well, so you can get 28-1 or 37-1. Any race, Chantry House, worth a score, surely, isn't it?
Bloody definitely. But Time Hill for me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it. Like I say, I have backed Lair Devant because he was too big a price, but I have covered on Time Hill. I think it should be between them two. If one of the other ones goes and wins it, like a Champagne Well, I'm pretty sure he's a second season novice as well. That if they did go and win it, it's only because they're a bit more forward. But nah, I'm with you. Lair Devant or Time Hill wins that. So we'll skip on to Saturday stuff. We're 20 minutes-ish in for the first day, so it's going to be an hour in it. Never mind. There's 7 races on the second day, and they're on Saturday. So there'll be more handicaps in there. There are a few I'm interested in, at least in here. We'll start off with the first race, obviously, which is the Juvenile Hurdle. There's one horse here. I've already mentioned this I did a little anti-post thing last night, and I've mentioned this horse. I think he's well worth backing for the Triumph anyway. Is Mick Pastor, Paul Nicholls' horse. Yeah. So he's going to carry a winner's penalty. The conditions of the race that he won over in France means that he's got to carry a penalty. But the horse that he beat that day, it was his first start over hurdles, then came out and won a Grade 3 hurdle. It's running a Grade 3 and a Grade 2, and then it went and won a Grade 1 hurdle. So this could be an aeroplane, couldn't it?
Won the race last year. All my notes on this one horse that I've written down for this one race. You just took them all.
the big problem with it though, this race, mate, is that if Mick Pastor does run, then we're expecting him to win, aren't we? The only horse that I think probably could compete with him would be All Mankind, but we just don't know how good that form was. He drifted that day, didn't he? But then he actually hacked up. But the horse that he beat in second, that was miles behind, was well beaten before. So I'd rather think this Mick Pastor could be something good. And then I think the only other one that I've thought was maybe worth a tiny bit of a mention would maybe Prefontaine, because when I saw him run at Kempton and he won okay, but he's 128 rated. The horse that he beat, Pacio, came out and won a handicap. I think he was low 120s or high teens. He's a mid 130s horse at best, this Prefontaine. If he's good enough to win this Juvenile, then it will be a trash race, won't it?
To be honest, yeah, it's not. There's not much depth in this at all. I think if Paul Nicholls doesn't run Mick Pastor in this, he's a donut really, because this is him home and hosed. If he's fit and ready to go,
well, that's it. Grade 2 as well, isn't it?
Yeah, nice bit of backside, lovely.
Right, bang. So that's going to go in. And like I've touched on about Chantry House being a big price, this Mick Pastor's still 33s with Baddy Power or Betfair. So another one, anti-post. The age that the horse is, it's only going to run in the Triumph. So semi-tempting. The Novices Chase. So this is the 3-mile Novices Chase. Mulcahy's Hill was the one that won last time, beat Holstone. The way they've been weighted now, Holstone should reverse that. Manila Warrior was in behind. Probably on the weights now. He might be able to get a bit closer. I actually thought he travelled quite nicely. I'm hearing rumours about Mulcahy's Hill going all over the place, to be honest. So we'll have to see if he actually does line up in here. The only other one that I would think would be worth a slight mention would be Red Zor. He shouldn't be good enough to beat this lot, but he was really impressive on his chase debut. I reckon for this would definitely be a race that I'd be just really wanting to watch. I think if someone said to me, I've got a £500 free bet, I'd want to be sticking it on Holstone, because I think he'll reverse that form with Mulcahy's Hill, but I don't really want to be getting stuck into this one. What do you reckon?
If Mulcahy's Hill goes elsewhere, I'll be back with Manila Warrior. I think Manila Warrior will reverse that form with Holstone all day long. Holstone jumps so well, but he doesn't want 3 miles. He wants 2.5, in my opinion. And he definitely doesn't want 3 miles and a half a furlong up that Cheltenham Hill.
Yeah, true. And I did think that, because Manila Warrior was a bit of an eye catcher in that race. It's just the class thing. He's the best part of a stone lower rated than him over hurdles. He's bound to come on for that run, because that was the first one after a break and a wind up, wasn't it? So that's the thing. I say, if I was given a free bet, I'd probably back Holstone, just for the fact that maybe his class will do it. But
what I would say is about Manila Warrior is that he made so many errors around the track that day, and to still get within 6 lengths of the runner-up Holstone, who jumped, by the way, who made next to no errors that day. Just shows how much of an engine this horse really does have. He's pretty unexposed over 3 miles as well. So for me, that would be a bit of an angle here. Second start off the Windop, definitely going to come on for it. Definitely wants 3 miles. Whereas Holstone, bit of doubts about the stamina at the end of the 3 miles. But yeah, but you know, Mulcahy's Hill, second season chaser, and is he?
He
was that really well true?
Didn't he? And
Sorry?
I thought he travelled really well the last day, and I backed Holstone. I think I got 11-4 or something when they first put the prices up on it, and I was watching it with a couple of other guys that backed it as well. it must have been 4 or 5 out, and I just said to them, this Mulcahy's Hill will definitely win this because it's going to travel over him. I know it only won a neck in the end, but you could tell the right was on the wall for Holstone, probably a little way out, I reckon. Like you say, the stamina sort of things come into play, don't they? All right, I might change my free bet if I was given one on Batmanella Warrior. This is the frustrating thing. When they do these short-term anti-posts, they price the markets up. If a bookie had priced this up and made Manella Warrior a big price, anything close to double figures, I probably would have had a nibble on it. But the problem is, especially if Mulcahy's Hill doesn't run here, which hopefully he will, I don't think Manella Warrior is going to be that big a price anyway, is he?
No, I mean, they're just going to price it up on the basis of the last of the last run, aren't they?
Yeah, and I don't think they're like the Hollow Ginger's been okay, but the only one would be Redzor's a bit of an unknown. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else really in the races that should be between the 3 from last time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Poker Play is probably worth a mention, but he does want soft or heavy ground. I know you're not, but you know he did just beat Cheltmental by 5 lengths at Fosslast last time, and Cheltmental just come out and bolted up, didn't she, by 15 lengths?
Yeah, but he's giving weight away as well, isn't he? He's got another one with a winner's penalty.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's probably not got enough class to win. Do you know what I mean? He's probably not got enough class, but he's definitely worth keeping an eye on if he goes down the handicap route. So,
and it's pipe in it, so that's what we'll be doing. It'll all be a plot job, won't it? And we'll never know when the plot's going to come off.
It never really does it?
No, probably not, to be fair. Right, so on to a handicap chase. This is a grade 3 handicap chase. Again, it's another one that's been priced up. I can't really get too excited about anything that's in here. West Approach is a horse that just never wins, does he? But he always runs quite well. Backed him the last Cheltenham meeting and was a bit frustrated that he found one too good that day because he was in a reasonable bet. But I think for this one, Ramsey Tateye obviously just won last time because it was a handicap. I mean, not a handicap. It was a hurdle race where he was getting weight and on figures, all that sort of stuff. He was bound to win when he got things his own way up front. This will be harder, but you can probably see why he's vying for favouritism. I'd give Little Rockefeller a poke. It's nearly 3.5 miles in it. He's just a plodder, isn't he? And the thing, 144. I mean, he's too small to jump over fences. That's as excited as I got about this race. I thought Little Rockefeller had a chance, so Daryl saved me.
I did have it all written down, to be honest, but I can't seem to find it. But if I was going to take a chance on anyone in there, it'd be Big River.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got a load of notes here, but I don't know where they are.
He's been jockeyed up as well, and he Derek Fox on board. I think he's drifted.
Yeah. He has had a little. Well, no, he's 9s into 8s, isn't he? Or 10, 11s into 10s. But
back out to 10s now. Wonky old market that one is.
If this would load, I would tell you about it. I'll tell you about the horse, but
you should know all this stuff off the top of your head, right?
I do.
About him. Big River is 9 years old. Derek Fox has ridden him the last couple of times.
Don't worry about that. Don't matter who's riding him.
I see. I don't see the appeal, to be honest. It's a bit of a trashy race. I mean this with respect whenever I'm talking about any sort of horses that are running in races. Dodgy triple, all those sort of things, isn't it? So this Big River did win 3 mile 2 handicap hurdle at Kelso. That was of 132 with a £7 claimer on it. Ran in a 4 mile race, got beat 17.5 lengths by taking risks. Yeah, you need to find those notes, Daryl, because I'm struggling.
Yeah, I will. Carry on talking and I'll find them quickly.
All right. For this, West Approach, like I say, I was a bit disappointed that he didn't win the last day. I reckon Little Rockefeller has got a little bit of a squeak, to be honest. Just think he's down to a winnable mark. The trip's obviously going to be a bit of a unknown, but most of these horses that run over these sorts of distances, they're only really running there because they're not good enough to compete over your 3 miles or trips shorter. So I don't want to be rude to Little Rockefeller because he's a little bit of a legend, isn't he? But he's still got to have a race in him, isn't he? He's only 8 years old. He does like it round here. I'd be semi-interested in him, but he's plenty short enough at 6 to 1. It's the funny thing, when they price these races up short-term anti-post, we've got 5 horses in here that are single figures. Then we've got another 5 horses that are 10 to 1. On the tightest bookie, Betway, they're 16 to 1 is their biggest price runner in there. So there's going to be some money that's going to come in for some of the horses. West Approach is the one that has been nibbled a little bit. He's as short as 5-1 in places. He's 7-1, top price with Bet365 that do have that cash out ability. Yeah, I'd struggle in this race to have any sort of keen interest. I might have a token bet on something like a West Approach, but I wouldn't be betting in this with any confidence.
Yeah, West Approach was unlucky last time. Look, the reason it was, do you know what? We built this up now. Look, it's a massive big case for Big River, but it's not that big of a case. It's just I went through the race. It's just hard to get interested in, and the most interesting thing for me is Big River's first time out record, fresh record. Outstanding fresh record, will handle any rain that falls, and he massively caught the eye here at Cheltenham behind Beware the Bear.
Yeah,
But it stayed on very strongly. He's been dropped in the handicap to a mark of 139, pound below his hurdle rating. I just think that he's got a big race in him. Now, with these sort of handicaps, you've always got to be looking for what's different in this race. What's different in this? Why is West Approach going to improve, or why is he going to run better than he did last time? And a lot of these have got this, just similar conditions where they plod round and nothing. Do you know what I mean? Nothing.
Yeah. And again, like I touched on with the distance of the race, they're just running here because they're not good enough to win a proper race, are they?
Well, that's it. Rams to take for me is Chepstow. Welsh National is going to be the target. Little Rockefeller, I don't even think they know what they're doing with Little Rockefeller. West Approach, cannot trust him to run the same race twice.
Yep.
Coggery needs dropping in the handicap. Pop Rockstar.
Stop running him in this over too far, let him tail off. Because the thing is, because he's such a gutsy horse and he loves it round here, he doesn't want to stop, does he? So they probably thought shove him an extra few furlongs on. That'll make him force his mark down.
Exactly. The likes of Arthur's Gift, I mean, jumping is just awful. I did like the horse, but jumping's awful. Venetia Williams Angle, where she's got this fantastic record in the month of November. If you'd have backed all her horses in the month of November since 2011, I think you'd be like plus £117 in profit to a pound level stake. And then if you back all of our horses that are fresh, stroke rate 25%. So there's a good angle for Achille. But then you are out to Big River at 10-1. Below that, you look at Keeper Hill, who can't jump. Potter's Legend, who's going to be going for a national somewhere. Single Farm Payment. Do you want to be back in Single Farm Payment?
Not for this part. And like I say, he's been nibbled a little bit for that other race on the Friday. So that's the thing with a lot of these horses. They get duly entered, don't they? You might fancy or might make a case for him for a particular race, but you never know for definite where they're going to run. But you've got to keep an eye on the training comments and what's happening on the markets, really, ain't you? This close to the meeting.
Yeah, you have. But with these sort of handicappers, it's the same every year, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It rarely changes. I just thought Derek Fox dropped up again for Lucinda Russell on Big River. Great first time out record.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a big pot in him off this mark. I just think 10-1 was a fair price, to be honest. It was just a process elimination. But
yeah, fair one.
And I think I'm not interested in it. I'm not.
And we've talked about this one for the longest as well, when none of us are interested.
Yeah.
There's 16-ish runners in there. Sky Bet will still go first four. Probably Hills will still go first four if you haven't got those runners. So yeah, something like a Big River. We'll go for a bit of that. Right. So we're on to. They called it the feature race of the day because it's the Bet Victor Gold Cup. They probably call it the feature race of the whole meeting, but it's a handicap in it. But that said, I did do a bit of a write-up earlier in the week or back end of last week talking about some like trends and stuff that might gear us into the Bet Victor Gold Cup. And there was a handful of horses that I did mention in there. A couple of them haven't made it through to the final declarations, but ones I've got on my short list. I mean, Slate House is definitely plenty short enough now. Went up £12. We saw with him last season, he didn't really fulfill anything, did he? This is the highest he's ever been rated, 147. And to go and win a handicap, you need, as far as I'm concerned, you need at least half a stone up your hand or up your sleeve. So it would be great to see him go and win because it means he's an absolute worldie, but I can't see it. And we saw with things like White Moon as well, he came out and ran really well, fell, didn't he? Went up a few pounds and then was just, well, there's no better way, dog shit after, wasn't he? I was trying to think of a polite way of saying it, but I've been biting my tongue on a few of these ponies. But yeah, I have actually backed Slatehouse after he ran at Cheltenham. It was 16-1. It was one of them. They're going to run in this race, aren't they? You have a bit of that price, but 5-1. The even bookies, aren't there? People are backing him at that price. But don't let me put you off. Spirit of the Games is the one that is the obvious case to be made for it, isn't he? That handicap form behind other ones comes here on really good terms, especially with Cyril Delac. He's a bigger price than him. He goes well fresh. Dan Skelton said he's been targeting the race, been holding him back because he knows how good he is when he's fresh. So I think Spirit of the Game should be favourite personally. I really hope Us and Them comes over. He's probably a little bit too high in the weights to be actually winning it, but he just kept being the bridesmaid last year, didn't he? He kept running in some nice races, and I reckon he's got the sort of profile that stepping up in trip. I didn't think it was going to be the complete answer to him, but when he ran the last day, I thought it actually looked quite good. Maybe probably just needed the run, but I reckon he probably would get the trip. And then the one that I do hope runs here, if I can find it, yeah, Count Meribel. So I think he will run. Thought he ran really well. It was behind Lost in Translation, wasn't it? Mark didn't move. 2.5 miles is perfect. He's run round here before. I reckon, well, he's won round here before. I think, did it win the Steelan Plate Novices Chase last year over 2.5? Might have done. But yeah, he's a reasonable price. He's still a reasonable price to back, I think. I reckon if, again, we're hypothetically, someone put a gun to my head and said, you've got £500 to spend on this race, I'd just bash it win on Count Meribel, I reckon. I do think Spirit of the Game should be favourite. EB1 I'd be tempted by, but Count Meribel, I would probably say at the minute would be heading my shortlist. But handicap, innit? Who knows?
This makes absolutely no appeal to me whatsoever.
What, Count Meribel?
No, just the race in general. There's so many better 10-1 shots and 5-1 shots than Cyril Delac at the head of the bet at the head of the Bet Victor Gold Cup market.
Oh, it's a
you know what I mean? It's just.
That's enough, isn't it? I reckon that's it. Cool.
It is. I just look. Cyril Delac, the form stands up. It do stand up, but you know, off a mark of 150 now, it's a completely different game. Slatehouse couldn't have Slatehouse. I could literally go through all of these. Not Lanús is interesting after finishing third behind St. Calvados the other week. Thought that was a good run.
Gary Moore won it last year, didn't he?
Hard that day. Yeah, it went off pretty hard that day. He looked like he settled a lot better as well, to be honest. I know they went off hard, but if he comes on for that run, he could be interesting off a mark of 146. But
it's a tricky race, isn't it? Because potentially there's a couple of horses in it. Like I said, if Slatehouse did manage to come out and go and win, could end up being a bit of a worldie. Even Count Meribel 146. If he came out Frank's the Lost in Translation form, everyone's going to be going mental over that, isn't they? Us and them. Even if Cyril Delac goes and wins, plenty were on him last season, weren't they? But last year in this race, I can't remember how many runners there were. There was 20 plus runners. I think there was only like 6 finishers. There was fallers, pulled up the lot. It's a really fast run handicap, and it's a big field handicap. It's relentless. You need so much luck in here as well. So the fact that, like we said, the prices some of these horses are, none of them are probably going to be valuing this because it's such a tough race, isn't it? So we'll leave that one. Let people make their own minds up. I think it is a good one for trends, though. People like that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Right. I had rather be in this race last year, and it absolutely ruined him for the rest of the year.
I had
the
Nichols horse. I've backed it millions of times. It fell at the first anyway. Been waiting for some better ground for it. Oh, can't remember its name. I think they won a race at Leicester or something fancy. But anyway, I fancied that strong that day, and then it bloody fell at the first. So I managed to get back in the bar and get a pint before the race was finished. Big Bucks handicap hurdle. So this is a listed race. This is a 3 miler. Little Rockefeller's in here, and as I said, I think his mark could be playable. So maybe make a little bit of a sentence for him. The one that's semi-interesting is Remastered. I thought he might run well, but he's entered in this, and he's entered in the novices handicap as well, isn't he? So on the the intermediate handicap. Sorry, the race after this. Whichever way he goes, I think I'll be interested in him slightly, but
absolutely,
it's a bit of a pants race, I think.
This is a nothing really race, but Remastered is definitely very interesting. Definitely. We was at Chepstow, weren't we, when he reappeared? Can you believe he was still there, like 2 out still there after how hard he went all the way around there.
And it was unfortunate, wasn't it? Because he had the options. They were so strung out, weren't they? It was almost like it was too many races. And he did run so well, considering that he was up with the pace so early. But it's always going to be a tiny bit of a worry with him because he showed a lot of promise last year, didn't he? And didn't really fulfil it. Yeah. So maybe he's just a bit of an oddball. But we love the oddballs, don't we?
We do. I definitely think he's got a win on it, winning him off that mark. But yeah, like you say, he's entered at the 3:30 as well. He's entered somewhere else as well on the Sunday as well. And I think they're looking, looking to step him out to 3 miles, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, but it's another one of them that they could potentially be thinking about. Maybe. I think the race that he's entered in after that is at Haydock Betfair Chase Day, which is the same handicap there. So whether they're going to give him it's only a week after, isn't it? Yeah. We'll have to see. But they're plotting him for somewhere, aren't they? So there's nothing else in that race you like, is there?
No.
Right. So if we went on to the intermediate handicap hurdle, he is entered in there, obviously. That Jatilui, or however we say it, that's in there, that intermediate handicap hurdle. Was it a triple penalty he carried the last day when he won? Or something ridiculous? Was it I want to say Warwick, when Beakstown and Weatherby, wasn't it? I think it was the day that maybe Beakstown and Sam Spin ran against each other. But Jesus, triple penalty, and he hacked up with David Maxwell on board. What the hell is that about? Fair play to him, though. You know, we all bang on about, it'd be lovely to own a horse. It'd be lovely to get a runner at Cheltmental, all that sort of stuff. This guy's living the dream, and he buys horses for big money, and he gets to sit on the back of them and just hold on.
I think he's actually not a bad rider, to be fair.
No, yeah, I give him a bit of stick, more for banter than anything. But he was an interesting one. When the market opened, I don't know what top price he was. I think he was maybe 7 to 1 or something like that. But that market only opened up today. He's already been backed into 9 to 2 in most places. Still 13 to 2 with William Hill. You'd be very surprised if he didn't run in here. The one worry would be that I do quite like Remastered if he came here, but he's a bit of a plot one, isn't he? So you couldn't really have any confidence with him. There's nothing else in that intermediate handicap hurdle that I'd be interested in. I just want to see, both of them run Jatalula, wherever you say it, and Remastered maybe. Although I'd prefer Remastered to go in the race before so we could back both.
The thing with Jatalula, what would worry me is that he's only been risen, £5 in his last four runs, and he's won by 3 lengths, half a length, 13 lengths, and 5 lengths under a triple penalty. Just goes to show you what he's been beating, though.
Yeah, but no, it just goes to show you that the handicap is saying it's a triple penalty, or didn't even notice it. I reckon the handicap is ballsed up here. I reckon it could be a good thing. It's a handicap, isn't it? We'll have to see what happens with Remastered in there, but I haven't even looked through most of the other runners' winners, but you can't be that keen because of David Maxwell. I know obviously he does ride okay, but I reckon that's got a proper chance if it does run in that race. Like I say, the 13 to 2 of William Hill, you won't get any sight of that on the day. Right, well, we'll move on to the mare's bumper. I'm running out of battery on my phone as well. I haven't got my charger, so we're going to hammer it. We'll have to hope for the best. The mare's bumper in this race is quite interesting. Blew Away. I think there's still shares available in this. Someone's telling me there's like a little 3-horse thing you can get involved in, but decent point form. Loads of people are talking about her as something half decent. Anthony Honeyball sent out Kid Commando the other day. He does well with any of these bumper horses. They're worth a second look. So that one's interesting. Flying Risk for Gordon Elliott. I pray that they send this over. That was going to run against a Mullins mare and another mare, maybe a Gigginstown one, over in Ireland, and he got pulled out. I think that was on account of the ground. It had an entry in a hurdle race. They didn't run it in that. But the Munir and Suede setup don't really have bumper runners. So you can either look at that and think, maybe she's not that good. They're just going to run her in a bumper to try and get some black type or whatever it is. Or you could look at it in the fact that they're thinking, hang on a minute, she actually is quite good here. We could go and pick up a reasonable pot or a listed race over in England. So I'd be keen to see her run. Other than that, Ishikara Lady for Harry Fry would be one that would be slightly interesting, but without sounding rude, it's a mare's bumper, so I can't get too excited.
It's not the way you sounded then. that is definitely your domain, mate. It's definitely not mine.
All right. So we'll bin on to Sunday then.
Yeah.
All right. So 45 minutes in, we might be able to get this done within the hour, mightn't we? We probably won't be able to cover too much of, we won't be able to cover any of the Punches Towny stuff, but maybe people will get lucky, we'll do another one. If not, it don't really matter, does it? There's a few interesting entries that are over there for for the weekend. Obviously, the Morgiana, hopefully seeing Classical Dream running in that. There's a few novices that have entered as well. John Snow for Willie Mullins, that was hyped up last year for the Triumph. So that's entered in a 2.5 miler at Punchestown, 2 miles at Cork on the Sunday. There's a few chases in there as well. Forheen could make his chase debut. Some interesting racing over there anyway. But back to Cheltenham now. I've got the page loaded up. I don't even want to say the title. It's a conditional jockey's handicap hurdle race 125.
Move on. 150. Novice Arkle Trophy.
Do you know what? This one, because I'm just going to waffle about the same stuff that I always say about these two particular horses whenever they face each other, I'll let you kick off with the Arkle trial.
Oh, you have to think that Getaway Trump is going to improve massively for that run behind our Dancer. The way he came swinging on the bridle before the turn into the straight, and then jumped the third last and made a mistake second last, and then just faded. That is what you want to see when the horse is returning and just needs the run. That is exactly what you want to see. Getaway Trump now escapes the penalty, which is saddled with our Dancer, rated £4 higher, getting £3, race fit, jumps really well, looks like a chaser. I was really impressed with Getaway Trump's jumping. I think that he might be able to swing the tables here, because this race is going to cut up as well. I mean, you've got a few double entries here, like we say, brewing up a storm. Western Rider put the kettle on. They're not going to go everywhere, so this could cut right up this race. Will Henry the Bromhead runner come over? I'm not so sure.
No, well, he's got the two entered here, isn't he? So he's got Jan Matt and he's got Put the Kettle On. Put the Kettle On has got Aidan Coleman booked for him. So for this race, not on the 2.5 miler, even though he's been running over 2.5 miles. So he'd get in off of 10 stone 9, and obviously the Getaway Trump would be 11.2. So what's that for? He's giving him £7. Al Dancer would be giving him £10. He's rated 140 something, and given he's got quite a bit of experience this season, I reckon he potentially could end up in here. But you'd like to think there'd be something better. I reckon. I said this the first time when Al Dancer and Getaway Trump meant that Al Dancer will beat Getaway Trump for fitness the first time round. They'll have had him trying for it. I do expect that Getaway Trump will turn into the better horse. Like you say, he cruised into it, didn't he? He did actually look like he was going to win the last day, didn't he?
Al Dancer makes a few fiddling mistakes as well. It could prove costly. He's got a tendency to not pick his front legs up at his fences and leave them in low, which sort of jolts back the jockey a little bit.
Yeah. He's a bit of a head case, isn't he? Because he messed about before the Supreme as well. I mean, nowhere near to the extent that Classical Dream did, but he messed about before that. He likes to just get on with things, doesn't he? My one reservation with Getaway Trump, which will be forever the same, is that you can't throw him into a fence. You can't ask him to pick up for. He couldn't go over hurdles. I used to just think it was maybe Harry Cobden riding him and not giving him as much respect. They didn't think he had as much horse under him, but you're never going to see him chuck Getaway Trump into a fence. And that day at Cheltenham, obviously fitness wasn't there. He wouldn't have won anyway. But even at those last couple, I would have just loved to see him just go, do you know what? Pull out a big one. And I know because you've got the whole season, you don't need to rush it. But that would worry me. If he's got something upside him, travelling in well, and he needs a big jump at that last, I don't think Harry Cobden can ever ask him for it.
He's only had one chase start, mate.
Yeah, but they did it over hurdles as well. I watched because obviously he's the owners group, isn't he? So I sort of paid a bit more attention to him because there was a share available. Got that for the old man for Christmas. So I mean, he's invested, obviously. but even like when he ran in the Challow, I thought, you know what, you could have actually not beaten champ, but you could have got close to champ if you'd have sent him on.
Boy.
but that day he travelled into the last, didn't he? And you just look at Harry Cobden, you just think Barry Gary's always going to hold on to the end. If Harry Cobden could have sent him on and nicked a few lengths, maybe. Might have been not a different result, but it might have been like different in terms of distance. The thing with that Al Dancer there, Getaway Trump came in cruising. It just worries me a tiny bit that in those sorts of instances, I want to see him kick on with Getaway Trump. Like you say, he's only had the one chase start, so that could all change. I don't know. It's just something that I've noticed a bit. I did notice it over his hurdle races as well. The big fly in the ointment here would be Brewing Up a Storm. If Brewing Up a Storm ran in here, he could do it.
Oh yeah, 100% he could. Definitely. I'm a massive fan of Brewing Up a Storm. I think he's brilliant. But I do think he wants further to be at his best. I do. When he ran against Good Boy Bobby, you know how much I fancy Good Boy Bobby. He was held out the back they'd set a blistering gallop that day. He was held out the back, and he simply stayed on strongest. And that was after Good Boy Bobby had hit the last three fences, and Brewing Up a Storm had jumped him beautifully, and he battled up there. I know he's going to come on for the run, fitness-wise, but it was just a matter of the way he was held up, let everything happen in front of him, and then picked up the pieces late. I definitely think he's a stayer. I definitely do.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. The thing I think with these chases, though, especially the 2 mile ones, you do want a bit of stamina in your armory, didn't you? But yeah, he'd be the sort of fly in the ointment in there. I would be with you that I'd have to be forced to have a bet in this, but I would plump for Getaway Trump to beat Al Dancer. It wouldn't surprise me if Al Dancer did beat him again, and then Getaway Trump manages to turn the tables later on in the season. I think that's just the way that Getaway Trump might be for the rest of the.
You might well be right, but
if that put the kettle on does come over, because of the fact that he's getting a bit away, Aidan Coleman does look like he's jocked up. He wouldn't be a back number in there, and he's the sort of one in there that Al Dancer, Getaway Trump, maybe they'll be running their own sort of race between the two of them. Put the kettle on, could go in there and push Al Dancer early, or make him make mistakes. Could actually help Getaway Trump a little bit, but you'd want to wait till final decks. We haven't. Well, you mentioned it, I think, a little bit, but Rouge Vif isn't even a bad horse either, is he?
No, he's a decent horse. He is. Do
you reckon this will be the Arkle trial last year, where you get something like Layla goes and bolts up, and then it's a pile of crap after? Do you reckon we might end up getting that? Something's just going to go and win it, but it doesn't really stand the test of time.
I hope so. Because that gives us better angles. Like the Layla thing last year, it was just such an easy angle next time out. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and obviously we had Defi DeSaul running here, didn't he? And obviously it was miles beaten in the end, but it's only because he made the hash of the last that he was beaten so far. Dynamite Dollars ran well enough in here, and then went and ran quite well after. So this is exactly like you're saying. These are the sort of races you want to be watching, you want to get stuck into, because as the season goes on, this race in particular will have winners coming out of it, won't it?
I would love Brewing Up a Storm to go in this race. I would.
And then shit home.
I just think there's Rouge Vif is going to go ahead of a gallop here. And I just think that this is going to be run ferociously, and Brewing Up a Storm could do exactly the same again and pick up the pieces. That would then let me get a nice lump on Good Boy Bobby over at Weatherby on Saturday without having to worry about Brewing Up a Storm.
Well, that's the thing as well, isn't it? Because Brewing Up a Storm will have to give Good Boy Bobby a bit of weight, wouldn't he? So that would be, I don't know whether Ollie Murphy would look at the entries and think, I didn't think Good Boy Bobby was going to go there. Maybe they'd want to swerve him, I don't know. But anyway, we've done that one to the death. The slower chase after. I think it's definitely a good race, isn't it? Apart from the French horse, I don't know what they're thinking about doing with him. But we've got their best part of all 160 horses in here, isn't they? My view on it is that Defi DeSaul's going to be going for the Tingle Creek, so this is a warm-up. Politolog's going for the Tingle Creek. This is a warm-up. So Royale will be ready to go. Won the race last year. Alan King's coming out a little bit now, moaning about the rain, saying he doesn't want it to be too soft, don't want it to be too soft, whinging about that. Simply Ned's 12 in he, but he's £3 better off than last year, but not interested. St Calvados, they're talking about the Bet Victor Gold Cup for him, isn't they, off top weight. I'd rather see him running this, but he probably does want a bit further. It's just one of them, especially when you talk about it from a betting perspective, the prices that the bookies have got this up, nothing's going to be luring me in. If I did have gun to the head and had to back something, I'd be backing Defi DeSaul.
If this is the final field, the final declarations, I'm going to be having a massive bet on Politolog in this.
Oh, but Harry Derham came out the other day and said that it is a fitness run for the Tingle Creek. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't go and win it. His record fresh is phenomenal. His record fresh is outstanding. He sets the form standard by a clear mile in this. With his championship second behind Altior, not to mention a mountain of other bits and pieces of form. Defi DeSaul's first time out record is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Now, I'm not just basing that on that, but if you go through Defi DeSaul's last year's record, right, and you look at his 2 wins and who they've come against, right, they've come against horses that are now stayers, right? So, lost in when he won the Scilly Isles, the Sandown. Sorry, he beat Lost in Translation, now won at 3 miles.
Vindication, now won at 3 miles. McCulkey's Hill, now won at 3 miles. You then go through the JLT, Lost in Translation, now going for a Gold Cup over 3 miles. Kildesart stepped up, won over 3 miles. 5th Vindication, now won over 3 miles. And then if you even go back to the Exeter race that he won, who did he beat in second there? Top of the game, who won the 3 mile RSA. I think he's been running against 3 mile horses, slow horses. I think now he's going to come up against someone like Log and So Royale.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come undone. This is, you know, I can't believe he's favourite for this. I can't. How is Log not favourite for this?
That definitely could be the case. The only thing I would say with, like, obviously Deffy last year is a lot of his races, bar the Arkle trial that you've had in this, where they were 2.5 mile races, weren't they? So the drop back in trip could be a tiny bit of a worry. But this slower chase does sort of lend itself to horses that might stay a little bit. Politolog's he's just been one of those horses that I can't ever get on board with him.
You know what? I've been exactly the same. I've never been a fan of him. In fact, I hated him for ages. Right, and the fact that he thought he was going to come up the hill and nab Alty off,
have a day off,
it wound me right up. But this is an ideal opportunity. This is a money.
I agree. It is just the fact that Nichols' horses have been needing. I know he's good fresh, but Nichols' horses have been needing the run. Tingle Creek's going to be the one that they're going to be going for. I mean, he could win this. It's not exact. Like Deffy DeSalle might not be any good at 2 miles. I mean, I think he would be, but might not be any good at 2 miles. So raw, they might whinge about the rain or whatever. I just think at the prices that they are, I could see any one of those 3 potentially winning the race. I wouldn't be surprised by it. I just couldn't back any of them. If Politolog was 3-1, I could be interested, but he's not.
Who goes off favourite?
Deffy.
You reckon?
Yeah, they love Deffy at Cheltenham, don't they? They just go spastic for him.
No chance.
He does. He goes off. He'll be short as well. That's the worst thing. I'm telling you. Anywho, the Greatwood, because we're definitely running low on battery now. We've got to get the Greatwood in. So, first of all, I picked the winner of this race last year, Nietzsche. I was very, very keen on him, and he won just by like a little head. This year, I'm not so confident about horse, and I wouldn't be getting something at a big price. Benny's Bridges, he's up and down in my estimations. I had a good bet on him for Trials Day, told quite a few people to back him, and he duly obliged under an ice cool ride from Paddy Brennan. I had a little bit on him last time, but didn't really fancy him to go and win, and he won under an ice cool ride. That was by Conor Brace then, wasn't it? He's a good horse. Fergal O'Brien's horses are flying. I can see why he's favourite for this. I could go and see him winning a Greatwood, but there might just be something else in there that could be a little bit less exposed. Humble Hero, I know the owners and the connections were sort of having an eye on whether to run him here or not. I don't know why they went for that bloody novices hurdle last time when it was carrying a penalty and it ended up falling anyway. I think it would have got beaten. I think that was Balinska race, the horse that went and won it. But I think Humble Hero is the type of horse that could do quite well around here. I think Harambe's picked up setback up or had a setback, hasn't he? He ran at Chepstow. We saw Alan King come out and watch him go up because he's a bit of a head case. I think I told you what Harambe does in his stable, didn't I?
What? Oh, bang his head.
Just walks around and just walks into walls. The horse is an absolute idiot. I mean, he can't say that's gospel, but when I was there, he walked into the stable and he did it twice.
It might have just been an accident.
Could have been. He was probably trying to get away from me, wasn't he? But yeah, I reckon probably Zanza. It pissed me off, to be honest. The only other way to put it, that he won at Newbury the other day because I've been waiting to. Well, I've backed him a few times. I can't seem to catch him right. I think he's better than his mark. I probably would expect Benny's Bridge probably could be too good for this lot. What do you reckon?
I'm not totally sure. I'd loved Benny's Bridge when he was on a mark of 121 or whatever it was, but on a mark of 137, I'm not entirely sure. I was really quite impressed with Gumbel's run at Ascot, actually.
He doesn't like Cheltenham, does he?
No, he doesn't. And I don't like a front runner in these sort of races. They're just there to be picked off, aren't they?
Yeah. He ran against Apple Shakira when there was the big match between them two, and he started off favourite. Apple Shakira was backed in, and he was in the pre-parade ring in a box, just kicking the wall. So I reckon him and Harambe will be best of mates if they ever meet up.
But I've got no real strong opinion on it yet. I've not gone too deep in it yet because I just want to see what happens really with the market. Yeah. At the moment, I am interested in Red Force One.
Yeah, he ran well, didn't he?
Yeah, he ran well behind Gumbel. did the best of the rest, but stayed on quite strongly that day. That Cheltenham Hill just might suit him.
Yeah, well, the thing is with him, though, Nichols has got 2 at the moment jocked up in it, and he's got Cheltestan with Harry Cobden on, and Brian is apparently going to be on Red Force 1 if they run. So what do you reckon if Cheltestan, 4-year-old, 149 rated, top weight in a Great Wood Hurdle?
It's not something you look for, is it? Put it that way.
To be honest with you, I reckon your options are, like, where else do you sort of go with him? And he does run well around Cheltenham, but
I don't know what to make of Cheltenham, though. Do you?
No, I don't.
A little bit upset about that flat run.
And he pissed me off when he won the last day because I backed that Soviet Pimpernel at a big price, and Harry Cobden was just the smarter jock. Then he just got the rail, didn't he? And it was like sort of fine margins in racing. We know all that sort of stuff. If he did go and win a Great Wood, then that shows potentially how good the couple are in behind Torpedo and Soviet Pimpernel. But he's one of them. He's just at the price that he is. He's like double figures, and you just wonder, should I be backing him?
Yeah, I know, but is he one of those horses that we all think, he's done his running, he's done his winning, we'll leave him alone, and he just keeps grinding out these victories? You know what I mean? One of them horses you think is done with now, and then just grinds out again, wins by a neck.
Right, we've done that Great Wood to death. There is 2 more races to get through. My battery's getting very low, so we're gonna have to try and hammer them, mate. The Sharp Novices Hurdle, 2 mile. It's definitely not a vintage renewal of a Supreme Trial. Pacifier, saw him at Kempton. To be honest with you, I was very impressed with him. Fair play to him. He deserves a shot in this sort of company. Echo would be the one that I expect to win the race. I think there's been some money for Scaradoo in this race, Neil Mulholland's horse.
Yeah.
But Eden DeHoo would be interesting if he ran here because they tried him over 2 mile free the last day and obviously finished second behind IK Brunel, so I'd be interested to see him over 2 mile, but I wouldn't be confident of anything in this race. I could see any one of 4 probably winning it and not be surprised.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's a horse in there called Hang In There for Emma Lavelle. Looked pretty useful last time at Exeter, but that was only a maiden hurdle. Echo definitely sets the form standard in here. I think you're probably looking towards the head of the market for any sort of bet in this, unless something's going to come out of the woodwork someday soon. Looks held through intermediate full lines. Echo, I just think, that run at Cheltenham in the was it Fred Winter? Where did he go?
He's 4-year-old, so it would have been Fred Winter.
Triumph.
Yeah, he was in the behind Penton Hills in the Triumph, 100 to 1, 12 lengths beaten, wasn't he? Yeah. And he was behind Fusel Raffles in the Adonis as well. So they obviously wanted to keep him for this season. That's what Nichols does, doesn't he? With these horses that he knows are quite good, runs him in the top graded races, because if they do lose their novice status, at least they picked up a grade 1 on the way, haven't they?
Exactly, yeah. So I think that is definitely the angle to look for in here. I don't think he's good. I think he'll be a lot shorter on final decks.
I agree. And he gets £5 from Pacify as well, doesn't he? So probably...
There's a lot to like.
Yeah. I guess maybe reluctantly we'll nap Echo. And then the bumper, there are a couple in here that are interesting. Hugo's other horse, well related, things to do with Q card. There are a couple in here that are quite interesting, but time flies by. How good was he at the meeting last month?
Very, very, very impressive.
So we want to see him.
Yeah, go on.
Well, all I was going to say, like Fergal's got a couple in there that could be half decent. That Hugo's other horse should do okay, I reckon now. But I want to see that time fly by go again. I want to see him.
I think everyone else is going to want to see that. I think it's going to be plenty short enough in the market, and I'm not even sure what it's worth even going too deep into this.
No.
Are you?